Welcome to another season 1.5 episode of the Tiny Nigerian Kitchen, the not so tiny Nigerian Kitchen. And we are nearly at season 2, which will be featuring travels around Southern and West Africa and recipes inspired by that trip. But today is another unboxing episode. I am super excited. I've been waiting almost 5 months for this new piece of kitchen equipment, and that is, of course, the oven, the Anova Precision Steam Combi Oven. Now, as well as unboxing it and reviewing the features of this oven, I'll be putting it through 4 challenges. The first will be a broiling test. The second will be testing out the sous vide features of the oven. The third will be a low temperature test. And finally, I'll be baking a loaf of bread using the steam features. I've read quite a few reviews that say that this oven is large, and if this box is anything to go by, this oven is going to be pretty freaking huge. Okay, so while I get on with unboxing this beast of an oven, please go down below and smash that like button to show support to the channel. And if you're not already a subscriber, then do consider pressing that subscribe button while you're at it. Okay, so we've got probe, we've got the scratch myself, some shelving, and a pan, user guide, some plastic thing, I think these will be for the water tray insert. Yep, so this is insert for, so this is what the water will go in to provide steam to the oven. Woo. I have been expecting you. This thing is beautiful. Oh yeah. So the water tray slides on, gets light, so yes, there we go. Top looks like it'll go on there. I'm sure I've done something wrong because I'm not sure what this piece is. Nice is to figure out what this thing is. So I guess I will read the instructions. Okay, so I gave in and read the instructions. It's a drip tray. So that goes in the bottom right there. Perfect. Woo! There we go, and we're good to go. So let's read the instructions properly and put this thing to the test. So I'm going to start by introducing all the oven features that are accessible via the handle display controls. First on the bar, you'll notice the Wi-Fi connection indicator that allows you to connect your phone to the oven. Next comes the heating element selectors. So the oven has got an exposed upper heating element, a rear heating convection fan, and a lower heating element. So the top element is great for searing or toasting, while the bottom element is better for proofing, fermenting, and dehydrating. And finally, the rear element is great for air frying, baking, or browning, and sous vide mode. Next is the section for temperature settings. First, you've got the little thermometer icon, which you press to switch on and off the sous vide mode. The temperature of the oven can be set with the plus and the minus buttons. And if you actually need to change the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit, then you simply long press on the thermometer icon. The next section is for the cook target settings. The cook target selector lets you change between a timer or probe mode. So if you want to set a certain amount of time for the oven to be on a particular mode, then you use the timer mode. Whereas if you want the oven to cook up to a certain temperature of the food, then you would use the probe mode. Inside the oven, there is a food probe port where you plug in the food probe and you put this into your piece of meat and you leave it in the oven, and it will alert you when the meat has reached a certain internal temperature. The next section is for the steam settings, so you can switch steam on and off, and you can dial in how much steam you want. When cooking below 100 degrees Celsius, then the steam percentage you're dialing is interpreted as a relative humidity. If, however, you're using the oven above 100 degrees Celsius, then actually the oven just puts out steam constantly. So the first test is the even grilling, or broiling for my American audience. And the aim of this test is to see how evenly the oven grills food. So I laid out a rack full of bread and put it into the oven and then switched it on. And as you can see, parts of the heating element actually heats up much quicker than other parts. So the bottom left are relatively dark, and right over on the right, you can see the parts of it still just only slightly toasted. So I decided to actually flip the bread over and put it back in on the shelf 2, so not as close to the heating element, and now the oven is already heated up to see the difference it makes. Much better. So when using the Anova oven, like most other ovens with this kind of heating element, it is best to preheat the oven first and try not to place your food too close to the elements. The second test is the low temperature test. So my main motivator for buying a new oven was the fact that I discovered that my old oven did not work properly below 180 degrees Celsius. I tried to make meringues on several occasions and burnt each time. And I realized, okay, I think it's time to buy a new oven. So I was very keen to make sure that my Anova could handle and make meringues well. And it does it perfectly. Interestingly, it was actually while running this test that I discovered that the Anova does have one little quirk with timers. When you use a timer to cook your food, the oven doesn't actually switch off at the end. All it does is alert you that your timer is over. So you have to make sure you actually go and physically switch off the oven at that point. The third test is the sous vide mode test. Now, I would say this is one of the features that really sets the Anova Precision Oven apart. And that's because it uses state-of-the-art wet bulb sensors to constantly measure the temperature your food is experiencing to just a couple of degrees. Now for this test, I actually pitted the oven against a traditional method of doing sous vide, which was with an immersion hand stick in water, and then one breast was placed in sous vide mode inside the Anova oven. And this is because Anova claims that using the sous vide mode and food probe, you can actually sous vide food much faster in the oven. And I found this to be the case. I was able to reach the same internal temperatures much quicker in the oven. Secondly, you get the advantage that you don't have to mess around with putting things into bags, vacuum sealing, or filling a tub of water. So I will say from now on, the Anova oven will be my go-to for sous viding food. And when I check the edge-to-edge doneness on the inside of the two breasts, you can see that the Anova is just as good as your traditional method of sous viding. Now the fourth and final test was using the steam mode for baking. Now if you look, you can see the steam coming out the front of the oven, and when this first happened, it scared the living daylights out of me. I thought there was a malfunction. Then I read the instructions and found out there's actually a steam vent, and so that is actually meant to happen. Again, this means it will affect the placement of your oven in your kitchen to allow for this. Now, the idea of using steam in baking bread is that the steam is supposed to help the bread form a nice, thick, crunchy crust. Now, from my test with the Anova, I will say I'm pretty impressed. I'm no professional baker by any means, but I was able to turn out a pretty good loaf with a good crust. So that would be a thumbs up in terms of the steam feature for baking bread with the Anova oven. Now guys, again, don't forget to press that like button if you're enjoying what you're watching so far. Okay, all well and good, I can hear some of you saying, but why do you need a Wi-Fi connected oven, for goodness sake? Well, let me tell you a little story. So recently I went to the gym, and on my way back, I popped into the supermarket and I saw they had some corn in the cupboard for sale. So I bought some, whipped out my phone, searched for recipes for corn on the Anova app, found one, bang, got the oven going so that by the time I was in, it was already preheated. I quickly prepped my corn, following the recipe, popped it into the oven, and would you believe, 20 minutes or so later, I had a fabulous lunch ready for me. Just one of the reasons I love the oven and the Wi-Fi connectivity so much. Now, talking of recipes on the app, this is another reason I love the oven and the Wi-Fi connectivity, is that I can go and find recipes, even as simple ones like, baked or jacket potatoes, and I can dial it in. The other reason I love the oven and the accompanying app is that I can set and change to different cooking modes. So maybe I have steam on for 20 minutes and then switch it off and change the temperature. And finally, I love the fact that I can monitor and control my oven while sitting on my sofa watching a movie. Now, it does seem that people in the past have complained about the pan that comes with the oven, but I think Anova have changed that now to a different one. The other thing people have complained about is the fact that you can't switch off the light on the oven. Yes, it's annoying, but then when I compare it against my microwave light at night, actually it's less bright, so not a big deal. So finally, who should buy this oven? If you're a tech geek and into modernist cooking, then for sure this oven is for you. If you bake a lot of breads and you think you'll use the steam function, then also consider this. And if you want a countertop oven, but you need it large, then this is a great oven. You shouldn't buy this oven if you're a traditionalist and you're not into tech. You don't want to have to fiddle around on your phone to control your oven. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to press the like and subscribe button. See you next time.